Congressman Scott. And Congressman Bobby Scott joined to give it.
Yes, and Congressman Bobby Scott came. I mean, that just shows how serious people are about this. And at the you heard from Reverend Gray about that incredible array of different religious denominations and leaders in the religious community who were there. What does that say to you? Because we were talking earlier about the need to take this beyond just lawyers, to take this into the common. What did this mean for you to hear the two of them speak?
It's so powerfully stirring because that's exactly right. And I mentioned earlier how I thought that sort of the trick of this right-wing legal project to lock us all out of power, to lock the black community out of the democratic, is designed to keep us all in the dark, so that it all looks like doctrine, it all looks like law, and we don't have the knowledge, tools, facts to call it out for the fraud that it is. And it's essential that the fight back is not led by lawyers. I mean, lawyers are critical, right, as always, and lawyers in the courtroom and outside of the courtroom, critically important fighters in this battle for democracy. But it must come from other communities and from organizing other key stakeholders across civil society. And I think it's where, frankly, the black community, because of the trauma it has experienced in this country, has learned these strategies and tactics, and it has the muscle memory developed such that you have these institutions built up to deploy and leverage and build this power together. And I think so much more needs to be done to learn from you, to work together, to help draw these connections to other communities, because I think what we're seeing in this assault on democracy, this authoritarian playbook that's being laid out not just against the black community, but against immigrants, against the media for speaking the truth against anybody expressing dissent. It's the same playbook to assault and intimidate and drive us into fear and timidity. And if we can recognize that we have so much power together and that we have power in knowledge and power in organizing, it's exactly how we will rise up and defeat this threat to our future.
Thank you. And, and just, Tanya, tell us why people need to show up tomorrow at 9 o'clock at First and Maryland Avenue in front of the Supreme Court for the rally, and why people need to be talking about this everywhere, at the office cooler, water cooler, at the online, everywhere. Why is this so important, Tanya?
Well, it's important because the Supreme Court, despite what some may believe, and they may even think to some extent it's not a monolith, they they don't exist in a vacuum. They actually do have to, they are aware of the unrest and the tensions and what is happening across this country. And, regardless of where you may feel about what this court is doing or has not been doing, we have to exercise our voice to ensure that they hear us and they know that what their decision, how they're engaging in this process is impacting the entire country, and that it's not simply about one particular originalist theory. It's not about just your constitutional, how it is that they prescribe to their constitutional theory as to how that this is, things cannot change. And in fact, actually, this country has evolved. It has changed. And that they have to be cognizant of that when it is that they're deciding and understanding why laws had to be put in place in order to ensure the actual ideals of what this Constitution says. We have not met those ideals. The country has never actually fulfilled and lived up to the full ideals of what the Constitution stands for. In fact, that's all we had to have. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, 19th. I mean, why we had to continue to add. So this is why people have to show up, because they need to see that this is actually important within their daily lives. They need to show that there is a large understanding and appreciation to the significance of being represented, and that this Supreme Court cannot be ignorant and claim ignorance of this and hide behind a process or lack thereof, in fact, on many times, to claim that this is, that there is no impact and that there is not going to be an impact upon how it is that this country will continue to move forward, and whether or not their decisions are going to impact the actual forward progress or maintenance of our democratic process. That's why it's important.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, Reverend Gray, one of the interesting points is that, this is one of those moments, is the way that I like to put it, and Barbara knows what I'm about to say. This is one of those moments. If you wondered if you had the courage to walk with John Lewis across that Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965, this is that moment. This is that moment. This is an Edmund Pettus Bridge moment dealing with voting rights in the United States. And, it's the moment where people have got to decide, where do they stand? What's of issue to you? What's of concern to you? Do you have what it takes to protect the gains that have been made for you to exist and have voting rights today? I know that you've been close to a lot of the children of the civil rights movers, right? Of our heroes. And, we know that people can go to, we're asking people to come to the Supreme Court tomorrow at 9 a.m. And those that have their, John Lewis Make Good Trouble T-shirts, wear those shirts, break them out. Right. You can't make it to the U.S. Supreme Court. You're in Louisiana. Go over to the Louisiana State House, because the new National Christian Leadership Movement, and along with the League of Women Voters and the NAACP, they're going to be surrounding that house, surrounding the legislature there in prayer and vigil as this is going on. But you, Reverend Gray, you're going to be here in D.C. Can you share for us? I tried to lay out the best I could why people need to come and be here. You're coming from St. Louis and you're going to be here. Can you share with folks why you're going to be here, why you're going to be at the Supreme Court, and put it in a way that I know there's some biblical way that you have of putting it, that people need to be in the house?
Well, let me tell you something. I've been a Baptist minister for over four decades. And so the Baptist in me reminds me of those who walked around the walls of Jericho. There were various things that were done. There was the horn blowing, and there was the movement, but there was also the praying. And so we want people to be outside praying. We believe that if we are outside praying, and we believe that the prayers of righteous people can change things. And so if we're outside praying, we want to pray for the Supreme Court to render a just decision. We want people to be praying where they are. Now, I think those of us who can come to D.C. and pray around the Supreme Court and gather around the Supreme Court, we believe that the walls of hatred can come tumbling down. We believe that the walls of discrimination can come tumbling down. We believe that the walls of political discourse and bigotry and discrimination and prejudice can come tumbling down. We believe that the Supreme Court is not above the Supreme Being. And so we pray to a Supreme Being as the Supreme Court will render their decision. We're going to ask God to trouble their hearts. And so it is important. And we let people know we're calling on October 15th. We're asking all churches, all mosques, synagogues, temples to do a fast. We're calling upon all people of faith to pray wherever you are. If you can't go to D.C., if you can't go to Louisiana, then pray where you are. We believe that God will hear your prayer where you are. We ask people to make sure that even after Wednesday, on Sunday, this Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whenever you gather to worship, we want faith leaders to alert their members about the Louisiana case and why it matters to the church. We believe that this case is a moral issue. That's why we need to show up. It's a moral issue that matters. It has to matter to God's people, regardless of what you call God, Jehovah, Allah. It does not matter, and it is an effort to weaken our ability to challenge and remedy racial discrimination. I believe. Dr. King believed. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to do something." That was his sermon. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And so we're challenging people. Pray, pray, be there, and the walls of injustice. The Supreme Court will hear us. We believe that. We're thankful that we have people like Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, who is helping us, and Deidre Reed, and y'all, thank you for helping us to make it clear to our congregations.
Thanks so much. And as we close our show today, I just want to thank again, our tremendous guests. Alex, how do people reach you?
You can find us at courtaccountability.org. We're also on Substack. We've got a newsletter called Tilted Scales, and we have a podcast, a YouTube podcast as part of the Midas Touch Network. It's called Legal AF. You can find us there. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention my dear partner, Lisa Graves' tremendous book, which is just out. It's called Without Precedent. It's an incredible takedown and background on John Roberts' career, with a huge focus on his career of, attacking the Voting Rights Act from his earliest days as a lawyer in the Justice Department. So that's Without Precedent: How Chief Justice Roberts and His Accomplices Rewrote the Constitution and Dismantled Our Rights, by Lisa Graves.
Wow. Tanya, how do people reach you?
Sure, you can reach me at Twitter at Decry4. I am on LinkedIn. You can also contact me via email at Tanya@ClayHouseConsultingInc.com. I'm on Instagram and forms of social media, so looking forward to making sure that we're connected.
Thank you so much. And Reverend Gray, how do people reach you, sir?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. My email address is darylggray@gmail.com. DARRYLGGRAY@gmail.com.
Thank you. Daryl, take us home.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you to our guests, Alex Aronson, Reverend Daryl Gray, and the Tanya Clay House, taking it to the house. Folks, I can just tell you, it's time to get off those sidewalks, get into the streets, get into good trouble, come to D.C., be with us tomorrow at 9 a.m. before the Supreme Court as we stand there and rally and support one another and support the voting rights. If you're in Louisiana, please go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to the State House there at the site of the scene of the sin, the scene of the original sin on this voting rights case. Be there, work for that house, put them in prayer. Folks, until next Tuesday, noon, Eastern Standard Time. Peace, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Urban One Incorporated, Radio One, or any of its subsidiary companies.
The preceding program was paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000.
Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief took care of Eric's problem.
And now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-811-7033. 800-811-7033.
Optima Tax Relief. News Talk 1450 and 95.9 WOL with the Carl Nelson Show. Weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. Reverend Al Sharpton keeping it real from 1 to 4 p.m. And the Tavis Smiley Show from 4 to 7 p.m. Download our mobile app and take us everywhere you are or listen live at WOLDCnews.com. The news and issues that matter to you most from Carl Nelson, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Tavis Smiley on 1450 and 95.9 WOL. 1450 WOL, Washington, D.C. 95.9 WOL.